Hey, welcome back to Spirit Music Meetups. Mike Burris here. We're out in the park doing some really fun drumming, and we are gleaning, and we're through a book called Drumstick Control by Jeff Moore, and we're finally on page 44. You'll have to look to other videos for the drum set applications, and this is about buzz strokes or multiple bounce rolls. Sometimes they call them orchestral rolls. And what we want to do is learn how to get as many bounces, multiple bounces, out of a stick. And I have something that says allow some focus concepts. Allow each stroke to bounce for as long as possible. Number 2, pay attention to the amount of squeeze at the fulcrum. The fulcrum should be right across from each other because this is a lever. It's not a seesaw, so it's not going to bounce. So you got to be right across from each other, right? And if you're playing traditional grip, you're going to have something like that, right? You're going to have it bounce. And avoid the temptation to remove your middle finger. So what he's saying is, let's try to get a bounce without taking this finger off, because this finger, even if it's light pressure, is there for other strokes, right? And if you take your fingers way off here, you can't get them back in time. I understand that. A lot of times I just barely move, I move that middle finger off just enough to get it to buzz, or very lightly touch it. Too much and you're gonna kill the number of bounces. And then number 4, practice the following exercises at all dynamic levels, especially pianissimo, which is PP, which means very soft. And so that's what you want to do. So we'll look at that. And I took my practice pad off, so I made it really loose, really fuzzy, because I have a lot of tom-tom here. I didn't bring the E-ring. See how it bounces. Now the way I do this is I put a little pressure on it initially, and then I loosen so it's kind of stiff, and then I loosen it. Stiff, loose, stiff, loose. You see how I kind of press with my fingers together? And I like to create a half fist. See that? All the knuckles are sort of lined up. And this helps me put more pressure because all these fingers are pressing against this finger, which helps me press against this finger. So it gives me a better grip if all these fingers are pushing against this. So it's a fist that you can almost hit somebody with. So try not to do that. I have a broken finger, so that sometimes wants to do that. And so he says, yeah, you can put this very lightly on the stick and see what happens. So I get just as many bounces. You really have to have your hand sort of tight, but loose here, because if I'm really tight, that's what's going to happen. If I press, it's called a press roll. Now I'm going to really get loose. I'm going to let... See how I kind of opened up the hole a little bit? So it's tight. There's no visibility. And then once it gets down there and starts, I open it up. That's okay when you're just doing one hand buzzes in the middle of some kind of beat or something. Just learning how to. But as you go faster, after you go faster, you have less time to relax. So you might want to just find a consistent pressure. I don't even like to do this so much. I like to use my arm a little bit. So I got to have enough pressure. If you don't want to go like this, so you squeeze off the stick, it won't move. So you kind of keep it a little open, right? And go like that. I put my finger back on it, creates a little bit more control. You will find more control having that finger there. It'll take some pressure off squeezing so hard here to keep from losing the stick. Now, if you're match grip, you're going to do the same thing with your left hand, which is right, same thing. So whatever you do over there. Now I loosen it up, open it up. You can even practice putting your fingers on and then taking them off. Fingers on, taking them off. On. So when I pick it up, I put my fingers back on. So that way, if you add a stroke, you got your fingers to help create that stroke. And that way, you don't keep your fingers way out here. Yeah, you're not going to have very good. So keep them right there or in that half fist. So you might do that. It's kind of like finger push-ups. I call them finger push-ups. So you're keeping your fulcrum, fingers are together, fingers are on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. This push-pull movement is used a lot for doubles and a lot of other things. So you want to kind of get used to that push, pull. Now practice 2 in a row. And then fingers back on. And finger back on. Off, 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 on. Off, on. Now you pick a level. So, I mean, at all levels. So, at all levels. See what happens, you know. I'm out in the park, so I'm gonna just. Now you might do like a 5-stroke roll, so when their fingers off, on, so now your fingers are on. See, I'm trying to come back to the same height. Traditional grip, you gotta do this, but you don't want your fingers way out there, right? So you're going to want to have very little fingers on it. So have your fingers out here like this. So that fingers on is that bridge, you know, you're lifting. And you can put your fingers back on. So it's really just vibrating right in that fulcrum. Very little pressure, just enough. You can practice it. Right? So that's like thumb comes back down. It's hard to do just. So I'd rather, and then pick it up with your bridge. So you can put your thumb over the top to create that. But that might kill some of the buzzes, right? Because that thumb over the top puts pressure, right? Kills it. So let the thumbs just stick up, but you're still squeezing it just enough. was just picking up with this finger. I'm going to try to pick up just with this finger. Pick up with both fingers. So it's kind of like that's that push-pull again. You'll see Jojo Mayer and others talk. So there's different techniques to do this. And then, of course, you're going to always lead. Work on the other side. Lead with the left. Stay down, you kind of just trying to get the same amount of bounces. Trying to get a nice smooth roll by as many bounces without having to do so much of this, right? That's called pulsation, the amount of movement of the main strokes, the skeletons. You can go da 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 da, 1 E and 1 and 2, and that's called duple pulsation. Da 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 da. So it gives you that da da choppy 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 sound, but it's more for straight time. And then you got triplet, ja 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 ja, rolling in triple. Da 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 da. So that's called pulsation. And those are some ideas I have. And then he has close roll builder number 2. He's just going from half notes, really stretching them out to quarters, eighths, and then finally 16ths. Learning how to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1. So he's learning how to do pulsation. But he's still in straight time. Notice everything's in 2s and 4s. 1, 2, and so you don't want to drag because that'll kill it. Just let it sit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'm trying to let it roll all the way to the end of the count. 1, 2, 3. So now I'm really loose. 1, and I'm not putting my fingers back on. 1, and you could have your finger lightly on here or lightly here, right? And it'll still bounce. 1, I would probably just have one finger on it, just like you have just one finger here. Notice I counted the ands, but I was playing quarter notes. 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. So you have to have the stick height, the sound, same height, right? Or you're going to get a choppiness to it. So I use a mirror with bungee cords on it, right? So I can go exactly to that height. But for here, I was looking at my sticks and making sure they came up to the same height. Or I was looking at this line right here in color, right? I was looking right there, you know, I'd have to go all the way up to there. So I was using this rim. Coming up to what I see is the rim, right? Oh, and actually it's this rim. I was coming up to this rim where my foot is. Learning how to do that consistently, boy, getting tired of my mouth. So that's that's what he's doing. And then double stops are playing in unison. This is very good for all kinds of exercises, is learning how to play coming up exactly the same, right across from each other. Especially if you're match grip, you should feel exactly the same. Now there's canceling out because this thing is rebounding. It's like a trampoline. So you might want to play over here. So you don't get as much cancellation. So that's very helpful in unison playing, simultaneously playing together. So I had some really great vision about that, playing together. And then there's a learning how, this is very good, the overlapping the buzz. I learned this from Brian Harris here in town. Snare drum goes to the zoo. So I think it was him. And so what you're doing is, this wants to die out. If you wait to pick it up before you play this one, there's a gap in sound, right? So you don't want that gap, right? Because you'll see the waveform, then there'll be a gap, then the waveform, then there's a gap. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is learn how to start this right as that's still bounding. So you go 1 and 2 and so right after you go 1 and 2 and you lift it up shortly after, right? But when this comes down, it creates shock waves that will cause this to continue to bound. So actually, when this comes down, it causes this to bounce a little bit longer. So then you lift it up. So there's a slight delay in the lifting up. You probably don't do that when you're playing fast. So I'm playing the next stick before it dies. So I'm just thinking, keep it lay it on the head, relax. When you go fast, you're not thinking about any of that. But when you go slow, you can think of overlapping the buzz. And that is nice pictures, guy. Nice pictures. The right hand buzzes, and before it stops, the other one is starting its buzz. And so he actually overlaps it. He overlaps it. He goes 1 and 2 and so he goes 1 and 2 and 1, and then you only lift it up at the very end. 1 and 2 and 1 and so he's lifting it up and bring it down. So it's like, so there's both of her buzzing. Not really like that. It's really just so like lift it up at the So it's just psychological, I think, right? So have fun with that. And page 45 is just showing a way to add subdivisions to a quarter note. So he's going right, and then adding the left hand as a subdivision. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 Okay, let me tell you about this. I'm not all German grip way over here. Not on the top either. You could, but you can lose your stick very easily out of the side. So that's called French timpani. So an American, a lot of people say it should be called Swiss because it's between Germany and what did I say? Germany and France, Switzerland. Anyway, I think Jojo Mayer said that. So somewhere happy medium, 45 degrees. Not on the top, not way over here on the side, but a 45-degree angle allows you to bounce under that thumb, vibrate under that thumb like a French. But you can still use your wrist when you need to. So I'm at a 45-degree angle. Not so much important here, except I don't want to be too like this because it dies, right? See, it doesn't bounce very much. So you want to get close to the rim, because if you're down like this, it's not going to bounce much. It's just going to die. Same with here. So you want to be kind of level with the drum. So 1, 2, 3. So I just add ands with your left hand until you get nice, smooth, various size rolls, right? Different size rolls. He does it progressively, right? More and more and more and more. More and more left hands being added. And then make sure you can do that with your left hand. Notice I don't want to be playing in the center. It doesn't bounce very much here. I want to be over here, preferably together, because it's going to have the same sound unless I'm trying to do simultaneous playing. And I would draw a circle and hit that spot. Fingers back on so you can hear the end of the roll. So take it faster and faster. Keep your smoothness though, right? And then you can add 16th notes instead of, you can go from 8ths to 16ths. 1 and 2 and 1. So now you're going 8ths to 16ths, just learning how to subdivide more. Then see if you can go to quarters, 8ths, and 16ths. 1, 2, 4, right? So I'm going 4 and 1 because I'm going to go to 16ths. 4 and a 1. 4 and 1. Make sure you can do just one of the hands, you know? Well, I think that gives you some ideas. And he has a lot more things we'll look on subsequent pages another time. Well, look for your comments below so you can help one another and inspire each other. And this is fun. This is a lot of fun. So have fun. That's what it's all about. Be like a little child. You know, Kingdom of God is for the little children, not for the so-called wise and understanding ones that think they got it all figured out, you know, like bratty little kids. Oh, I don't need any guidance from adults. I know it all. Sounds like what's going on. I know it all. So that's just arrogance. Pride before the fall. Pride before the fall. Let's not be like that. Let's be like little children and just have fun. We learn by having fun. exploring. That's how little children do it. They don't look through books. They don't try to study things necessarily, you know, and we're just going to have fun. So have fun with this material. Don't get too serious with it, right? It's not it's not rocket science. It's not the end of the world if you don't get it. Don't beat yourself up. Have fun with it. It'll come. It'll come by doing, right? That's how kids learn. It comes by doing, all right? Have fun, all right? Bye-bye.